Is the Alabama dynasty over? It was a struggling performance for the Crimson Tide in Tampa this weekend. And there were certain factors that went into that, which we'll discuss. But it's time to ask the question of whether or not this is the end for Saban and what we used to know of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be suddenly a bad team, but this does not appear to be the dominant team. And I emphasize team as it once was. When you look at this team and what they did today, USF should never be in the same breath as Alabama. And granted, the weather definitely played a factor in that. It was pouring rain, but I think that there are some concerns if you're Alabama that you probably want to address and it maybe has long-term implications and could, tell us what we need to know about this program and how much they'll be competitive going forward. The first thing is the quarterback struggles, and there's a lot to talk about with this one. Tyler Buckner took over as the starter, and I think that was an overreaction. Talk about more of that in a little bit. Tyler Buckner did not perform well. Then they go to Ty Simpson in the second half. They combined to go 10 of 24 for 107 yards. And the biggest thing I think I have to note is that when they made a mistake, they looked very both of them. Both of them did not look very confident in what they were doing. Both of them almost just didn't want to make a mistake. They were doing just enough to not screw up. And yes, everybody was struggling on the offense. The offensive line, we'll talk about in a little bit too, did not help much at all. And that's where having a runner at quarterback is helpful. The one thing that, yes, Milroe can run, and Jalen Milroe would be a solid option because of that at quarterback. But the thing that I'm just absolutely shocked that they did not give him a chance is last week against Texas, which, by the way, if you struggle against a team like Texas, that fine, but you don't deserve to get benched because of that. Were some of the throws Jalen Miller made last week bad? Yes. The two interceptions were really bad decisions. You just can't make those decisions. But the one thing that Jalen Milroe did that Buckner and Simpson did not this week was when Jalen Milroe made a mistake, he made up for it the next play. His second interception against Texas, he followed that up with an absolute beautiful ball that went for a touchdown. So, in a game in which you're struggling and everybody is tensing up and no one wants to try and make a play because they don't want to make a mistake, Jalen Milroe should have been the answer. That's really what it should have been. You should have put Jalen Milroe in the second that Tyler Buckner struggled. And when Ty Simpson wasn't getting the job done, he made a couple nice throws, but Jalen Milroe should have been in there because this is not a game that you should win 17-3. I don't care if the weather's bad. I don't care any of that. Alabama is not in the same sentence as USF like they showed they were today. Now, USF had nothing to lose. They played like they had nothing to lose, and they played with a ton of confidence. And they're in this game for 4 quarters. You saw the energy in which they were playing. You saw the confidence in the plays they were making. And they, like I said, had nothing to lose. They were letting it all hang out. They were playing like there was nothing else they had to worry about. They gave Alabama everything they could and then some. And yeah, they ended up losing the game, but this is still a team that deserves a lot of love and a lot of recognition for what they did. Getting after Alabama's offensive line was probably the best thing that they did. 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. Alabama's offensive line looked horrible, and that didn't help the quarterback situation. But this is an offensive line that features two players that are 6'5", 6'6", and 350 pounds. Now, granted, just size alone is obviously not going to help you move people around, but you have to. You're 4 and 5 star kids going against USF, who probably has 3 star kids going against you. But that didn't matter to USF. USF found a way to make a number of big plays. Daquan Evans had a monster game. And Daquan Evans is not someone who should be getting after the quarterback, but he was a nightmare for this offensive line. And to me, the offensive line play is the bigger problem. The quarterback play obviously gets under the spotlight more, but the fact that they didn't have time to throw a lot and the fact that Buckner and Simpson got drilled a bunch of times says more about the offensive line than it says about them. And yeah, you're going to kill confidence if you're letting your quarterback get hit that much. Now, on the other side, Byron Brown did not have the best statistical game, but he made a number of plays that were really exciting and made you go, which team is he playing for? This is a guy who made something out of nothing a couple of times. 87 yards passing, not great. 92 yards rushing is a decent game, especially against Alabama. This guy played with a ton of confidence. He showed that he could be one of the more entertaining players in the UC this year. And I don't know if USF will compete for the AAC championship, but this is definitely a team that is playing with a lot more confidence and deserves a lot more love than they're getting. And that's really exciting if you're a Bulls fan. That's really exciting if you're a USF fan that's been dying for some success. And even though you lose 17-3, the fact that you hung around with the 10th best team in the country says a lot. If you're an Alabama fan, you really have to question where this program is going. Because even in the past, when you look at what Alabama's done, their losses came to teams that were on their level in terms of or close to the level in terms of talent, and then they just had a better game. It wasn't inferior competition making things interesting. Now, yes, you can make the excuse that the weather played a factor, but Alabama should still absolutely maul USF every single time they play. And that was not the case. It doesn't matter the quarterback situation. That comes down to simply doing work in the trenches. Now, the defense did step up when they needed the most. They also only gave up 3 points. So it wasn't like they were getting torched. But this doesn't feel like the Alabama teams of old. This doesn't feel like the dynasty teams that we once had. It feels like we're in another year in which it's going to be a long year for Alabama fans and one that probably doesn't end in an SEC championship appearance. I don't think that you're going to see Alabama thrive as much as they used to. And that's really kind of sad in a way because there's a lot of talented players. I mean, Dallas Turner is still a really solid player. Roydell Williams stepped up today. Chris Braswell was really fun, but it just doesn't feel like it's the same. The mental mistakes killed them. There were a number of plays where you just had to almost bang your head against the wall if you're Nick Saban, because what else can you do? There's not much that you can do. There's not much else that you can say. And that's really unfortunate. That's really tough if you're an Alabama fan. It's really disappointing to see because this is a program that would take care of business early and often in games like this. They would not waste much time getting after this team that they'd face. And it's unfortunate that they're in this situation. And I know Nick Saban's probably just as disappointed, if not more, than anybody else. I don't know what the solution is. This is a team with too much talent to be able to play this way, a team that simply should not be playing to the level of USF. And USF, hats off to them. They played a phenomenal game. They had a great game plan. And obviously, they just couldn't get it done in the end, but it was still really fun to watch. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Is the Alabama dynasty over? Have we seen the beginning of the end for Nick Saban, sending him into retirement? And what does this mean for Alabama going forward? Yes, it's just 1 week. We're only in week 3. But the fact that you lose to Texas and then follow it up with an absolute dud of a performance says that something's changing, something needs to be fixed. And I just don't know if that's going to happen.